Okay, so now what we're going to do is demonstrate this technique. And we have a little model here, which is just a tooth with some space in it. Naturally, an endodontic canal would be a lot longer. As we mentioned earlier, you want to use a number 5 Gates Glidden, and you want to take that gutta percha down, if you can, to even 10 millimeters down. This obviously would be a tooth that is maybe right down to the gum line. This is the model I'm using for this demonstration. And here we have this pattern, and this pattern actually has a little ring on it, and once you put the pattern in there, if you want, you can scoot that ring down. Doesn't really matter. We borrow the little Dappa dishes from the cosmetic industry. They're disposable. Here's a cute little spatula that you can use. Here's our pipette. Here's the tip that's going to go on it. And here we go. We're going to take this Duralay liquid. Oh, and we've already lubricated our canal. The Duralay people give you this lubricant. I'm not convinced you couldn't just use Vaseline, but you can get that in there. You can use a Explorer to put it down there. You could probably use an endodontic paper point. It doesn't really matter. I think usually we'll just take a periodontal probe and sort of work a little bit of it down there. So here goes. We're going to take some of the Duralay liquid, and we're going to put it in this little temporary dish. Probably that was more than we needed, but that's fine. And you just put it in there, right? Now we're going to take the liquid using the pipette. And the most important point of this whole procedure is you want this Duralay to be very thin, maybe close to pancake syrup or even thinner. Might even be close to milk. You do not want it to congeal. You want it to be thin. So I'm going to get it real thin to make the point. Okay? So now you take your cute little spatula and you mix it. Doesn't take much. It almost automatically mixes. And the point is you got to draw that up into your syringe pretty quickly because you don't want it to congeal. So here we go. We put it in there and we just draw this up, and we're going to get maybe 2 milliliters out of it or whatever that amount is. It doesn't matter. You draw that up. We take a little gauze, put it over there square. Now you put the tip on and you put it on tight. Go to your model and you syringe it right down into the model. Okay? And you can your syringing of the material is going to seem kind of thin. It doesn't matter. You got to get it in there. All right? And the most important point is don't wait. All right? Now I'm going to take my pattern and I'm going to put a little bit of the Duralay on the pattern, but you see it's already starting to congeal. You don't really have to do this, but sometimes it feels like we should be putting a little bit on there. The point is now we're going to put that right into our canal, and we just plop it in there. It seems like it's way too thin, but it isn't. And you just wait it out. You can use this to see when it's hardened. Do not move that pattern once you get it started. If you want to push the blue thing down, I'm not going to do it right now because this is so short it'll move it around. But if you want to take that little ring and move it down on top of your Duralay, that's a nice little feature to make sure that the top part is really pushed down. But honestly, you don't have to even do that. So you just wait, and in about 3 minutes, when you check, this is going to be hardened. It does take another couple minutes more than if you'd made this really thick. You see, so it's going to take some time, but this is already starting to congeal. And so I'm just going to visit about this procedure while it's hardening. As you know from a previous other video, this procedure, when it gets finished, you send this to the lab. And what the lab does is they produce the top part, which is an idealized prep. Notice that the material is internal to the shape of the tooth. You do not want the Duralay on your stump to come across the margin, so it can be very minimal. The reason is you want the post and the part in the top to be internal to the outline of the tooth. Why? Because when you get this back from the lab, You're going to place that in, and then you're going to let it cement it with whatever you want, Reliax or even Duralon. Put it in there. You've got to wait about 20 minutes while that cement hardens. And the reason is, when you go to prep it, you might produce a little heat, and you don't want to break that cement seal. We actually commonly will make our gold post. When we bring it back from the lab, we will then place it and then let it cure overnight. That way we're super duper sure that when we prep it. Now you remember, the lab is going to take this and they're going to wax up the top part based on your polyvinyl siloxane model impression. And the way they do that is, when they pour that model using the lab technique, they will actually wipe the top of the impression with their finger, so that when they pour the model, the Duralay pattern will poke out into free space. All they want to do is get it completely seated around the top of the tooth. You can actually put a couple of grooves here so that you're sure to seat it. It doesn't really matter. The secret is just get that part down the canal. If you've done a little bit of tapering, you can go down to 12 millimeters. You can do molars. You can do anteriors. No longer do you have prefabricated posts or posts that are part of the crown that are short. These posts can be 10, 11, 12 millimeters long, and now they're custom fitted, lab generating this part here. If you happen to be a guy that likes to wax things up from school, you can wax up the top part. They will sprue it, they will cast it, they will put it on the model with your opposing model, Velmix, and they will then make a perfectly reduced, tapered, gorgeous prep. When you bring it back, if you've done everything right, you're going to just try that in. It will be a prep already done, and the canal part will go all the way down. You do have to take out your cava, take out your cotton pellet, and maybe take a Gates Glidden and clean it up, make sure there's no debris in there. You might also even imagine you have to shape the post a little bit, but they will drop right in. If you want to, you can always notch the post a little bit, and if it seems to not want to seat, you could always take the tip off, and so you're down there at 10 millimeters, you can shorten it to 9.5. It will seat with the prep on the tooth. And if you want to just wait and do it the same day, you just have the patient wait. Now you put your margins on it. You already have the opposing model and the bite. Now you've got a perfect prep on your gold post. So let's check our material and see. Because I mixed it a little extra thin, it still hasn't quite hardened, so we're just going to have to wait. Again, I reiterate, do not take this out like you would some temporary material, where you pump it or anything like that. You don't want to do that. So now we're going to continue to let it run, and I don't want to turn my phone off and then turn it back on, so I'm going to wait. This will be hardened in about another minute or so. It's almost there, just about there. Now what you're going to see is that the model is just going to be perfect. We take a Sharpie, and because we want to be sure we know what is the buckle, we actually take a little Sharpie, and on the little die here, we're going to mark it just like that. And that way the lab knows that they're going to say that's the buckle. Sometimes the canals can be so symmetrical that it's hard to determine which is the buckle. We mark it, and then when we hand it to the lab technician, they know what is the orientation. These cute little spatulas are available in your kit. We give you a ton of these, but you can buy them on Amazon, and they're a wonderful little disposable, so you're not mixing Duralay with a steel spatula that has to be sterilized and all that kind of stuff. And then this syringe, the one we have, is the best we've found to be able to suck up the Duralay. And of course we want an 18 or 15 gauge tip, not a 21 or 22. It won't work. It'll squirt out the side. So 15 or 18, I think the one we provide is 18. And then of course your little pipette, we've even marked that so that we don't lose it. There's the Duralay over there. And now I'm going to take an Explorer and check this here. It's rock hard. Out we come with our pattern, boop, just like that. And there it is. And if this is 10 millimeters, it'll be absolutely perfect. Here is the orientation of this, and we're going to put it right back in, and it drops right back in there. So I actually, in making this video, I made a mistake. I did the marking to the lingual. I just feel it's easier if you mark it to the buckle, so I made a mistake there. This would be sent to the lab like this, and it would be marked here so that they know which way is to the buckle. Okay, now when this is being done in the mouth, if you want to, you can take this little ring and push it down. It isn't necessary. It kind of feels comforting, and if there's an extra bunch of material to kind of fill in, but truth be told, that's not useful. All right, so it's on the buckle. If this were 10 millimeters, we can try it back in the mouth, and it's absolutely perfect. And you'll see no voids. Absolutely perfect. If this were 10 millimeters, all the way down to the root tip, no voids. There we go. Right back in. Here we are on the buckle with the mark that I made down there at the bottom. Okay, you see how much trouble I had trying to figure out what the orientation was? The reason for that was that I didn't get this marked really well, and I was making a mistake there. But there's my pattern, and I can try it back in the mouth, this thing being the mouth, and sure enough, goes right in. There's no voids, drops right in. So that's the end of the video. Once you do 3 of them, or even 1 of them, the spatula, this part here, it will go right down, and you can use them, and they make the most beautiful posts. We specify noble metal, and we do charge enough that we can cover the cost of that. I think in this office, a gold post all the way down using noble gold is $1,200. So we don't mind doing that. The patient gets the benefit. Now I'm going to end the video.